Hey everybody, how you doing? This is Jim Grisanzio from the Oracle Groundbreakers team, and I'm here with Suyash Joshi to talk a little bit about Java and deep learning. And this is a part of the Oracle Groundbreakers APAC virtual tour, Asia Pacific virtual tour that's going on this week and next week. Massive tour. So Suyash, welcome. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Jim. Nice to be here with you finally.
Yes, we've had a couple of conversations over the phone, but we've never actually met live. We're live right now, but I mean actually physically live in person. So it was nice to meet you. And I did see you on the speaker list for this conference. And I said, oh, Suyash is there. And so I haven't actually had a chance to interview you yet. So that's why we're here. So I see you're talking about Java.
Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about. I've been a Java developer for a long time before I came into developer marketing. And the topic that I'm talking about is AI in the context of Java. And I can tell you a little bit more if you want about that, what that is.
Yeah. So, AI and machine learning, these are sort of technologies that have been around for a long time, but they're really in everybody's faces now. I mean, now it's like very, very popular, right? But they've been emerging for a long time. So I guess the first question I have is, the Java community has been around. Java's been around for 25 years or so. How are Java developers sort of embracing AI and machine learning technologies?
It's been very positive because for many reasons. One, Java has been around for a very long time. However, there is new innovation in AI called deep learning, and it came out of research universities where there were professors who were more comfortable in Python. So they wrote these library. One of them is TensorFlow, very popular now, and another one is PyTorch. And they kind of took the industry by storm. But because the Java community is so big and prolific, Java developers at open source communities, at large organizations, they've made deep learning libraries to do just what TensorFlow does or PyTorch does, but in Java. And there has also been effort to port TensorFlow and PyTorch into Java. So you can train a model Python and run it in Java. So a lot of exciting stuff happening these days.
Cool. And is this something that you've given a presentation at this conference? I guess is it this week or next week?
So it is coming up. It's in 2 days.
2 days.
It's
okay.
Called Getting Started with Deep Learning for Enterprise Java Developers.
Okay.
And if somebody's watching this before the conference, please check it out.
Cool. So is this something that you talk about all the time? Is this something new to you in terms of your presentations to developers?
It is, I would say I've been doing it for a while now, but there's always new I'm learning. So I've been talking about this for about 1.5 years now, since I personally got into AI machine learning. And then I realized, hey, I have years of Java experience. Let me see if there is libraries in Java that I can do the same. I can build my own neural networks and train model to do computer vision. And I found stuff. And that time it was just coming out. And then today there's massive progress been made. There's one library we have open source from Oracle that we internally use in various teams. We're building these massive Java apps and infrastructure around it. It's called Tribu. It's a machine learning library, came out of Oracle Labs, recently announced, and I'll be talking about that as well. And there are a few others now that are giving firsthand machine learning in Java without having to, fit Java in different platforms and so forth.
I see. So talk a little bit about cloud as well, because we've got these sort of, everything's cloud now. Cloud's not new anymore, obviously, but still, how is cloud mixing with Java and machine learning?
Yeah, great question. So the story with the cloud is where I talk about Java and AI, I'm talking more from a software engineer point of view or application developer. So how do you, because there are 2 steps in machine learning or deep learning. One is the data science role where you train the model, and second is the engineer role where you deploy the model in production and you integrate that in your existing, let's say, enterprise application, AI, some kind of feature. So how do you go about doing the latter? And I talk about how do you deploy the model from the cloud to your client applications. How do you do something called transfer learning, which means if there is already a model, and nowadays there are a lot of models pre-built, so you don't have to do everything from scratch. How do you use that and train it on your data set for your company, for your business, and then deploy that model in Java? So I'm talking within that context. So I talk about how do you architect these applications, because you have to architect them for the cloud before we can use deep learning with cloud. And microservice is a very popular architecture these days. So all you have to do once you have a microservice architecture, you add one more microservice, which is responsible for doing the AI, which does the ML inference. Or it can be multiple microservices for multiple, machine learning operations that you're doing.
Cool.
So all of that happens on the cloud, and there are frameworks for Java developers to build their apps, Java apps on the cloud, much more effectively, easily, that can scale. And there are also open source projects like Helidon and Micronaut, and I talk about those, and the people who built those work at Oracle.
So it sounds like some of these cloud features are making it, or at least attempting to make it easier. Is that true, or is that just a misinterpretation?
It is, because machine learning models are, one, they can be big, and their training is much faster if you're doing it on the GPU. And these GPUs are very specialized GPU. In Oracle Cloud, we have offering for GPU. We just recently announced a new offering with NVIDIA's latest GPU. So you can, it's one click and you can provision a GPU machine or a CPU, Ubuntu, let's say virtual machine. And it's managed for you. Everything is taken care of. All you have to do is you have to learn how to use these services, and you can do that programmatically via our cloud SDK, or you can do it in the GUI console, right? Provisioning them, logging into these machines, and basically, if you have Dockerized your application, then it's even easier, because you can take that application from your local desktop to the cloud and just deploy it, and it would run just as it runs locally, but much faster. And then, the benefits of cloud scalability, long term, it's most effective in cost, it's more secure than on-premise. So all of these benefits are real, and they can be brought in any context, AI applications or non-AI. But my focus is around AI and cloud and Java.
Right. Interesting. Okay. So I'm interested to hear a little bit about your background as in terms of your interactions with developers. Up until this year, all of us, we would get out, we would be going to conferences and things like that. And, we would go to open source conferences and Java conferences, and obviously Oracle conferences as well, database conferences. And so, how long have you been doing developer relations?
Yeah. So developer relations, I've been doing about 2 years, two-ish years, 2 years, few months. And I'm wearing the shirt. It's from our Groundbreaker Oracle, Groundbreaker Ambassador shirt. It's our community, which we're part of. And the world has transitioned into virtual events. So here we are. But, if this wasn't the case, like you said, we would be, at conferences, at events, either at the booth, helping developers answer their questions, or conducting workshops, or even like I used to do a lot of meetups. That's how I started in DevRel. I still run my own meetup here in Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
And so doing events locally, bringing experts from Oracle and outside, and sharing knowledge with the Java community and all the other developer communities.
See, one of the things I've noticed, you're really young, and one of the things I've noticed, a lot of people say Oracle's old, right? Because it's been around for a long time, so by Silicon Valley, standards. But, when I go to these conferences, it could be a Java conference, it could be database conference in India, or, anything. I see a lot of young people there, within this Oracle sphere, within the Oracle, within one of the Oracle communities. And it's really interesting to see this constant change, this constant turnover, your database, DBAs becoming more developer oriented. We have APACs now. And so a lot of people are embracing that. And just the Java community itself, there's a lot of churn. It's always churning. Communities are always churning themselves. There's always new people are coming in. Is that your observation as well?
Yeah, for sure. Java is growing. People think Java is going away, but not. You look at the stats, and it's still the leading language. And it's been taught to young kids in high school in America, called AP Computer Science, and in colleges. And so there's new blood coming out. And of course, at Oracle, we always hire students from top colleges. So right. You come to the office, you'll see all different age group. But in the community as well, people are adopting cloud. They're learning it in school, colleges, or when we do hackathons, we realize that it's much faster and easier for kids to pick it up, because a lot of the stuff is done for you. And the community is, I think it's thriving. It just has, this is what we have to do more of: share new material, share cutting edge knowledge. Amazing things you can do in Java. And I think the community will take care of it.
Yeah, you mentioned hackathon. It's really interesting. I was on the Oracle Groundbreakers Yatra tour last year, the real one, the live one. And each one of the cities that we visited, right, it was the adults who were doing sessions and things like that, but they had an all-day session for the kids, right? Because many of these were during the week, and so parents would bring their, kids there, and, or I'm sorry, actually it's on the weekends, some of them were on the weekends, and the parents would bring their, kids there, and they would have, they had a hacking session for the kids, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, the kids would present. These are 14, 15, 16-year-old, kids. And I was always so blown away with how advanced they were and how they were able to articulate what they had built in just one day, with the tools. Because the tools now are so advanced, you can do so much incredible work. And that's, brings it actually back to machine learning. These tools have been sort of emerging for many, many years, but now they're so powerful. So like an engineer like yourself, mm-hmm. I'm always so impressed with what you guys can produce. Just one person with one really good tool and a lot of knowledge,
Yeah. And acknowledge exactly both, because the knowledge is also now, it's free almost, right? It's on YouTube, right. It's everywhere online. So kids don't have to wait till they go to college to learn something advanced. They are learning at their home, doing workshops and hackathons and things like that. And it's great.
and even old people like me, I can everybody relearn, right?
Yes. Yeah. I keep hacking, on my desk. I'm playing with this is IoT, Internet of Things, and making some things. Just because these things are cheap now, it's fun to do projects like these.
Yeah. All right. Well, Suyash Joshi, Director of Developer Marketing at Oracle, and you're going to be talking about Java and machine learning at the Oracle Groundbreakers APAC virtual tour, which incidentally is in 4 languages: Japanese, Korean, Chinese, and English. Wow. Yeah, it's epic. It's like over 100 speakers. I mean, it's like they get 2.
How many days is it? It's like
11 days. It's 11 insane. Days. It's insane.
It's every day.
Yeah. 11 days. It's insane. Over 100 speakers. I wouldn't know how to organize a conference like that, like an online conference like that.
How many interviews you're doing? I'm sure you're also packed.
Well, I did like 50 interviews for the Yatra tour, but I can't do that. It's just too hard. I'm in the kitchen here. Okay. So I can't be knocking, I got the cameras and lights and all this stuff. And so, it's 2:00 in the morning. So I got to break it all down and then go to bed because, someone has to make breakfast in the morning. Right. So,
yeah. No, I think it's amazing how we're pulling this off and how people are also coming in and
yeah. Well, I think people are improvising. They genuinely want to connect. This is a community, these are communities of people that need to share information. This is highly technical information, and you learn by sharing and going back and forth, right? It's just the culture of software development, right?
Yeah.
So
you need the in-person live interaction, either virtually, or
right. So people are just sort of improvising, doing the best they can without the physical events. But hopefully they'll be back in the maybe not near future, but maybe in the medium future.
Yeah.
So
hope so. Yeah.
So all right, man. Well, thanks a lot for joining me. Appreciate you sharing your upcoming talk, and hopefully we'll actually meet live soon.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.